friends. Yosoko Tomoya. Good morning, good evening. Welcome everybody to this collaborative international event, a friendship between the Japan External Trade Organization, JETRO, and SETsquared, the enterprise partnership of 6 of the UK's leading research universities. I'm Simon Bond. It's my pleasure to be the director of SETsquared, but to lead this morning's fascinating, timely discussion on the next generation networks beyond 5G. I love SETsquared's relentless drive into the future. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Professor Rick Hillam. Rick, thank you so much for chairing this morning. I know I'm really looking forward to this, and everybody that's been in the chat on the platform, on LinkedIn, is looking forward to it as well. So I'm going to hand over to you and have a really great morning.
Simon, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure for me to be here also and to be hosting this event. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining. We've got some fantastic speakers. We've got some fantastic guests. Two that I noticed just this morning with Dr. Walter Sutterby. It was interesting that people like this are able to join this event and have the interest and mark short from O2 with many, many others who there are on the list. Truly an all-round fantastic event and selection of people. I'd like to just to remind you all from the agenda, there's some breakout rooms that will be open around 10 o'clock, and you can go into those for different groups. And there's also a chat function for questions. So I'd like to move on and to bring on stage and invite a guest speaker, David Ryder, who's the Director of IoT Technology, Product Development and Business Development from KDDI Europe. So David, welcome, and over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I hope everyone can hear me. Thank you for having me on. I've got a few slides to accompany my opening speech today. So let me share my screen with you quickly. Please let me know if you can see this. Rick, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you guys. So as Rick said, I've been around for quite some time. So we're going to be talking about 5G. And in particular, from my perspective here at KDDI Europe, what does that mean for us? And how are we using not just 5G, but IoT? As you can see, I've been around for some time, and I actually remember the hype of 3G, having been involved in that. Let's just hope that 5G doesn't go down the same route as that. So saying that, let me tell you a little bit about KDDI. I'm sure many of you have heard about us. We're actually the second largest telecoms provider in Japan and in the top 10 globally. We've been around for quite a few years, 70 plus actually. And we started off in the fixed line and moved to mobile and a whole range of other services as well, including, as you see here, data center, cloud, network security, and IT. So the whole gambit really that you'd expect from a global telecoms company, not just operating in Japan, but globally as well. So bearing that in mind, what do we do in Europe? As I said, we've taken what we've done in Japan, and we service our global customers with the traditional range of ITC solutions that you would expect us when you have global customers who have offices and facilities around the world, right from data centers all the way through network. And I have to be clear here, we do not have a mobile network outside of Japan. What we do have is partnerships with the right telecom providers, both for MPLS, mobile, and whatever we really need from in order to deliver a service to our end customers. We do, however, have one important partner, and one you may have heard of, called Telehouse. Telehouse is a global subsidiary or owned actually by KDDI, and it's a co-location center, one of the largest globally. and in Docklands is our facility, and we have in each key city around the world these co-location data centers where most of the ISPs actually locate their equipment. So what do we do in terms of digital, though? Interesting. If you look at Europe, we only started offering digital solutions, what I would call modern day digital solutions, only about 2 years ago, where we started looking at IoT, we started looking at AR, VR type solutions accompanied with data science, consulting, and most importantly, connectivity. One thing you may or may not know is that KDDI is the sole provider to Toyota connected car globally. What does that mean? Wherever you have a Toyota connected car, you are connected back to Toyota, and it's most likely it's a KDDI service enabling that back end from a connectivity perspective. In terms of 5G, for us at KDDI, as I mentioned earlier on, it's not just about 5G. But saying that, and what I mean by that, I'm going to cover the next few slides. But before I do that, I just want to share with you some of the market forecasts that we've seen, that I've seen come out of ABI. And you will see here, there's huge numbers being forecast for private 5G. And why have I put up private 5G? As I said earlier on, we don't have a mobile network outside of Japan. In Japan, we're absolutely not just looking at private 5G, we're also looking at consumer 5G. And there's a whole range of solutions there, but I'm not covering that in this presentation because it's not really relevant for what we do here in Europe. What we do in Europe is provide services to our global customers, our enterprise customers, and 5G is quite vital. And some of the areas highlighted here, such as transport, retail, manufacturing, logistics, etc., is where most of our global customers currently sit, with offices right across Europe, the Americas, and the Africas as well. Interestingly enough, when you look at this slide and you look at some of the key markets, such as retail, such as manufacturing and transport, it fits in very nicely, really, with what our approach is here in Europe. Before 5G was actually mentioned or even looked at in any great depth and detail, we decided a couple of years ago that manufacturing was going to be our key focus, followed very closely with the other key areas that you've already seen on the MPN market slides in the market opportunity slides. So it fits in nicely. So shifting or tying in our digital market reach or focus into where 5G is predicting growth, it fits in quite nicely. However, saying that, what are our supporting propositions that we're looking at and taking to market on the back of both our focus across digital and also what 5G is going to help us deliver? It's probably no surprise that you've seen some of this already. So condition-based monitoring, asset tracking, inventory management, paperless digital manufacturing. What do I mean by that? I've actually got a use case later on, which is one slide, which will explain what that is. But for us, because our Japanese manufacturing clients are globally, it's a key area for us. And when you look at digital maturity within that manufacturing sector, it's actually lagging behind. You know, you've got some leaders, mainly in the automotive industry, but lagging behind are all the others. And getting them to adopt digital is a challenge. And that's something that we're looking to change in the future. Supporting that, there's other things we're looking at, such as building management, health and safety, remote collaboration, and mixed reality type solutions. So what sort of solutions that we in KDDI are bringing to the market? Here's an example. I'm going to go through very quickly what we see as our IoT value chain. Everyone talks about IoT and thinks it's actually pretty damn easy to talk about it and for people to understand, and most importantly, to deploy. Actually, it isn't. It's pretty complicated. And the end-to-end supply chain to deliver a solution can be quite varied. And from my perspective and KDDI's perspective here in Europe, no one person really can claim that they have all of these. If they do, they're pretty thin in what they do, and they are not relying on the rich ecosystem of partners that are available out there that have specialisms in all of these areas. To give you an example, devices and modules. We have partnerships to get whatever it is that we need to deliver a solution. In terms of network, yes, we do have capability internal to KDDI in Japan. We have our own IoT network based on from 2G all the way up to 5G. But outside of Japan, we have to rely on partners. And again, it's use case driven. In some instances, we may have a LoRaWAN network. We don't have a LoRaWAN capability, but I know where to go and get that from a partner. In other instances, it's purely a GSM network, a mobile network, where we have relationships already that we've set in place for our Toyota solution to be able to bring that to market, and so on. I'm not going to go into detail. Then you have the installation and the systems integration of the solutions. The service management, how are you going to support all of this? And then comes the value add side of the things, the connectivity management platform. How do you stand up a connection? How do you take it down? How do you build for it? The application enablement platform, and there are many players in the market here. For us to build our own would not really be economical and would take up far too much of our time. So we partner here to bring the application enablement. This is where really the clever stuff happens, where the data gets integrated, aggregated, cleansed, and made available really for the really cool stuff to happen, which is the applications, both with our own people doing it and with partners. I'm not proud, whatever solution that our customers are demanding, we go out and we find what's the best solution to provide that. And integrating a third party is probably the best way forward. Why? Because they've taken the pain of understanding that particular environment, and integrating them onto a platform absolutely speeds up our reach and our delivery to our customer. So talking about partners, where do we see partnerships helping us right across this value chain? In every area, really. Networks, devices, in terms of install and installation and systems integration. One area we don't is service management. We try to keep that to ourselves. Why? Because we've got that capability from delivering other solutions. But certainly in every other area, partnerships is vital for us to deliver the solution. And most of our customers that we work with understand this, and they know that we are not going to be building everything for them, where we're going to bring this rich ecosystem of partners together to deliver the solution. So where does 5G fit in for us? I mentioned this earlier on. We're only looking at mobile private networks for 5G. Where we have an opportunity, we will partner with the local MNO to deliver this MPN, or when it becomes more widely available, to deliver solutions similar to the way we deliver other types of connectivity from low power wide area networks all the way up to 4G at the moment. So we don't have a mobile network, as I said earlier on. And again, we're use case driven. If what we're going to be delivering to our customer demands it, we will choose to write connectivity. And it must be ROI based. If we cannot find that it's going to offer a rich return of investment for our customers, we won't even enter into that, because there's many other types of network that we can start deploying our solutions against. And it's got to be a gradual rollout. Why? Because currently MPNs are damn expensive to build it, and they will come type attitude for most of our customers, especially in the manufacturing sector, where it's a gradual transformation to go digital. It's also pretty early days from our perspective. There's the Open RAN initiative. There's others with their own network and proprietary systems, and there's a whole range of other ways of building and deploying NPNs. We don't see a uniform approach yet, but like everything, that'll happen as we go along. But be very clear, when we're talking about an NPN for our customers, this is going to be purely use case driven. So moving on, I mentioned earlier on about a use case that we used all of that ecosystem that you've just seen to deliver to our customer. So the first thing we did in how we engaged with a manufacturing client, they were looking at an end-to-end production line, and it was fairly manual, paper-driven. So their focus was, how do we make this paperless? So using our digital tools together with some of our partners, we actually ran a proof of concept, which was lasted about 3 months, just to prove to them that it actually made business sense to go down this route. Once we did that, we then started to talk to them about what would it mean to actually roll this out across a production line. And there were 10 steps in this particular production line that we had to look at. It wasn't just a fast assembly area, it was 10 assembly areas across one line. Remember, this is a global company. This is just one small area within that overall factory. These 10 steps are replicated a number of times within that factory, and globally hundreds of times. So what we were asked to do is to build a pilot just for this, looking at a framework that can be replicated across all of these production lines. And that's what we're currently doing. The aim here is to reduce the pre-production training, aid on the flow training, guidance on bespoke developments, there are changes that are happening, and run a full paperless assembly process. These guys are relying on paper, where you're getting about 1,000 work instructions. Each work instruction has 10 different items on it that they have to take into account. So fairly manual when you're looking at this. Interestingly enough, we're also running another couple of POCs will feed into this. One is around virtual prototyping. Why? Because they do manual prototyping. And the other one is around vision analytics to do the quality checking on this production line. So really what I'm saying to you here is that, yes, we are the big boys. We were able to get into this, but actually delivering this without our global partners, we would be unable to do this, specifically around the digital tools that we were enabling. So I hope you understand, why we see the value of partnerships, and also the opportunity. This is now a multi-million euro opportunity that we are looking at, from a small proof of concept that costs no more than 40,000 euros. This is now expanding to millions, just by taking one area, focusing down on that area, listening to the customer, and applying the solutions that we have available. So in terms of that, as I said earlier on, one of the solutions was mixed reality, taking paperless and making it visual, and the other one was computer vision. 5G, there is absolutely an opportunity here for 5G. This is a global factory network. And moving forward, it's too early to talk to them about 5G, but moving forward, we're uncovering areas where in order to deliver this paperless production, you're going to need bandwidth, reliable bandwidth across the factories where 5G comes in. There's other solutions coming out that we're seeing on a daily basis, such as inventory management across the whole area, quality checking around the whole area, health and safety management. In order to do all of that, you're going to need a global, a factory-wide connectivity solution that really meets all of those in an environment where it's easy to deploy and easy to bring back the data for you to do what you need to do. Our approach with clients is very simple, really. One, we agree what a core problem statement is. We develop our proposals. We agree our approach. And the approach could be stage one, where we do that proof of concept, or where customers are more mature, we go straight to a POC. Okay, and we're always aiming to do an enterprise-wide deployment. So it's important that when we do engage with our customers, we start to build that focus in mind, that everything we do is enterprise-wide ready. Why? Because many POCs don't ever hit the production flow, and we try to avoid that at all costs. It not just wastes our customers' time and budget, it wastes our time, and it wastes our ecosystem partners' time. So focusing on that endpoint is quite key at that very first, when we're trying to agree that core problem statement. Is it really going to make a difference to them long run? If it's just going to be a nice exercise that one particular individual wants, we try to identify that and try to avoid that at all costs. So that's really what I have to say. I think I'm stuck to my time. What I have to say in terms of 5G, it is a core cornerstone for us. It is part of our overall strategy that we take, how we take solutions to market and how we have that discussion with customers. But most importantly, and I hope that message has come out quite clear, we rely on partners, we rely on startups, and we rely on scale-ups. That solution that I explained earlier on was with a scale-up based out in Silicon Valley, where they work quite closely with us to deliver that. So in terms of our open innovation program, we have two programs. Sorry, I forgot about this area, apologies. We have two programs, mainly run out of Japan. The first one is where we focus purely on startups, and we run incubation labs, and we start to uncover real value coming from this incubation area, where we start to develop projects with them, we finance the POCs, we start to develop them, we give them support, and we start to mentor them and take them forward. So this is more of a startup focus. The second area is more of an investment fund, and this is our corporate venture capital fund that we have, where again, through some of the work that we're doing, for example, here in Europe, when we come across some real golden nuggets, we pass it over the fence to our corporate venture team for them really to come with us and understand what value these guys can bring, not just to the market, but to KDDI themselves, to see how we can expand our portfolio. And so we have that venture arm as well. And interestingly enough, through that venture arm, we've actually got quite a few outside of Japan where we've invested in. The ones circled in red that you can see here is all the companies that we've invested in outside of Japan, both in the consumer side and outside of the consumer side as well, and in different sectors, entertainment, healthcare, and fintech. You'll get a copy of this slide, so you can look these guys up later on. You can look these guys later up. And on the previous slide, I've also mentioned some partners we've invested. Look them up as well. And we're happy to mentor, and guide you guys if there's an opportunity in Japan to get into this. I don't know. I've only been with KDDI a year, so I'm learning myself of how to get into these two vehicles, both to understand what the partnership's capabilities are so we can use them here, and also refer some of the partners I'm working with to the teams in Japan. So that's it, Rick. That's my bit over and done with. I'm happy to take any questions now.
David, let's just have one question in, and we can pick up some more later on. Thank you very much for that oversight and exciting presentation of KDDI. The question I have is that if you look around Europe, virtual networks have been popular with operators and the cellular sector for some years now. Do you think that's an approach that KDDI will take? And do you think it's the same for 5G?
So we more or less have a virtual network. As I mentioned earlier on, Rick, we provide global connectivity to quite a few of the automotive industry. And in order to do that, we sort of verge on becoming a virtual network there, where we source connectivity from global partners and deliver that to our automotive partners wherever they need it. 5G will come into that band as we do that. Whether we actually here in Europe actually become a virtual network operator is another thing. I don't think we need to, because we can partner with MNOs to get that connectivity for each customer that we have to deliver this. And you don't need to be a virtual operator to also offer an MPN, because it's a slightly different model you have to adopt there. You're not relying on public bandwidth. You apply for private bandwidth in each country to be able to deliver that specific MPN.
Thank you, David. I'm sure that will promote many questions on the chat. If you would just remain on stage, I'd like Rini Obi to join me on stage now, who is the Investment Director for Global Brain.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, Rena. The next stage really is about for you and David to sit here and have a look through the company pitches and discussion on investment trends in the sector. So if we go to the company pitches now, and then we can have a discussion afterwards, really for comments and for your views. So if we could bring the first video on stage, which is from Mafic. It is Will Woodhead, and look forward to seeing the presentation. Thank you.
So my name is Will Woodhead. I'm the CEO of Mafic. Mafic is a construction intelligence company where we use machine learning, cloud services and IoT to deliver better information to improve health, safety and productivity on a construction site. We've developed a wearable device which fits to a back of a hard hat, and from the movement of somebody's head we can understand the activity they're performing. This works because every activity you do, there's a unique movement signature into your head. I'm talking at the moment, wave my hands, and there's a slight movement in my head. So in construction, we take that as swinging a hammer using a grinder or a welding machine. We can categorize people's day into chunks, aggregate it away from a personal level, and then report on the overall performance of the project. At the moment, approximately 1 in 20 major capital projects within construction are delivered on time and on budget. There is a massive problem to deliver projects to the schedule. The Japanese construction industry is worth about 5% of GDP. Having better information to better manage these projects is one of the biggest barriers to improving the productivity and safety within this industry. We wanted to develop a piece of technology which benefits not only the shareholder of the construction company, but also the individuals themselves. Giving better information to everyone on a construction site allows them to make better decisions with regard to their own health, safety, and also the performance of the project itself. So we run a software as a service system. Despite us having a piece of hardware, we sell data to people who can use it to make better decisions. We charge a fee for every time this device is worn on site. And likewise to upstream customers who don't actually use the device but use the data, we do a cost sharing arrangement with the group of people who've harvested the data. At Mafic, we've developed a piece of hardware, we've written firmware to run on that, we've written machine learning, cloud services, and then operational improvement on a construction site. So the people, our team, have a very broad range of skills. I've worked in 7 different countries over 20 different years. The biggest piece of advice I had to start with was to make sure your first 10 people are stellar. I can safely say I've never worked with such a good team, and we've achieved that as a founding team. Our IP for this resides in the machine learning that sits in the cloud platform. Despite the fact that we designed the hardware ourselves, we recognise that in the future that we could be using other pieces of hardware, such as mobile phones. So the way we protect this is actually keeping our secret source, our machine learning, in the cloud, outside of the construction site. About 5% of the population in Japan work in heavy industries. They're a mainstay of the economy. Like Europe, an ageing workforce is posing problems to these industries. So keeping the workforce in work, healthy, and making them productive is key to ensuring growth in this sector.
Thank you very much.
Imagine watching your favorite sports team play or favorite artist perform from any camera in the stadium. SwipeVideo is patented streaming technology that allows you to watch 360 or multi-angle video on any browser on any device. I'm sure you all know this famous scene from The Matrix. This was the film that first introduced bullet time, or free viewpoint technology, to mainstream audiences and served as the main inspiration for our company. The sports industry has been the primary use case for this tech, with big companies such as Intel and Canon involved. In entertainment, Sony and Microsoft, amongst others, are using volumetric capture to create mixed reality content. However, there are still major obstacles to mass adoption: expensive specialist equipment and production use, no control over the viewing angle of the clips, and finally, for all the financial outlay, businesses are still struggling to come up with ways to directly monetize this content. To solve these key problems, Amatelis has created SwipeVideo, software that produces fully user-controlled free viewpoint video. SwipeVideo gives you a seamless multi-angle experience, allowing you to add as many angles as you like in a lightweight stream with zero buffering. In this clip, users can change the viewing angle with a simple swipe on their screen. It works during all play modes and can be created using literally any video group. SwipeVideo works on any 4G network or equivalent Wi-Fi, doesn't require an app or downloads. Any browser will do. No specialist hardware is required. We can also do live streaming with 30 or more angles. SwipeVideo has a totally unique approach. Instead of trying to combine all angles into a single giant stream, each angle is maintained separately in the cloud, with only the selected angle streamed at any given time. In doing so, we're able to stitch together potentially infinite angles with zero loss of resolution due to sharing of bandwidth, which is a common problem with other multi-angle solutions. Our patents covering both 4 and 5G technology ensures that we have a significant lead over any competitors looking to create a similar product. We've recently been awarded a 4th patent with more expected this year. We have use cases across multiple industries. For sports streaming, we've been working with several leagues in Japan to look at live multi-angle streaming using existing stadium or venue infrastructure. With 5G, you'll be able to watch replay highlights as you watch the game in person. We partnered with the Japan Volleyball Association, and as you can see, we've been working on streaming matches in 360. We're also working on using both manned and AI tracking cameras to focus on specific players. SwipeVideo reimagines technical education. We provide rich video content at a fraction of the cost, enhancing the learning process by allowing students to choose the angles they wish to see. We tested SwipeVideo successfully via a pilot project with Tufts University. In Japan, we have 3 national universities and 2 nationwide technical teaching colleges signed on as paying customers. SwipeVideo is also being used as technical demonstration tools. We're proud to have signed the Richmond Group with brands such as Cartier and Piaget, as well as Fanuc, a robotics company in Japan, as clients in the past few months. Entertainment, and in particular the music industry, have been hard hit by COVID restrictions. We provide a new way to create high-quality fan engagement, content that gives the remote control back to the end user. Esports tournaments can become a whole new experience with SwipeVideo. We can not only give every player an individual feed, but we're also able to switch sound channels to accompany every angle. Follow the action you want to watch. We're about to do our first esports tournament here in Japan. We're partnered with Dentsu, the biggest advertising agency, and NTT Docomo, the largest mobile communications company. With a B2B business model and scalable SaaS solution, we're continuing our rapid growth here in Japan and are looking to expand our footprint globally. We raised a $1 million seed round in 2020, and we're open to a strategic raise in order to push our overseas expansion. We would love to help find partners and clients to help build our networks in our target markets. Thank you.
I'm Thomas Sawes, I'm CEO of Beam Connectivity. Really happy to be able to talk a little bit about what we do today. So Beam Connectivity is 2 years old, and while the company is 2 years old, actually the team isn't. We knew each other for a number of years beforehand, where we worked on building a connected vehicle system for a new entrant into the electric vehicle space. And what we noticed at the time was that connected vehicle systems, today's connected vehicle systems, don't perform well enough. What do I mean by connected vehicle system? Well, it's the ability for a vehicle or to send data to and from a vehicle over a cellular connection. And this enables a multitude of use cases. It allows vehicle manufacturers to get new insights into their vehicles much more quickly, and it allows new data-led services to be launched on the back of connected vehicle data. It allows also, remote control, sending a remote control command to a vehicle. Again, we think that today's connected vehicle systems don't perform well enough. They can be very frustrating for end users, whether those are consumers or business users, and the supply chain is also very fragmented. So we founded Beam Connectivity to fix these issues. And we want to be a one-stop shop for the best connected vehicle system there is. And that might be for passenger vehicles, which is where we're focused today, but our systems are equally applicable to agricultural vehicles, industrial vehicles. Increasingly, we're looking at two-wheeler vehicles in the mobility space. Our vision, our ambition is to build the most secure, the most performant, and the most versatile connected vehicle system there is that allows our customers to focus on the value of their vehicle data while we take care of the underlying pipeline. Well, vehicles are becoming increasingly connected. To give one example, in Europe now, it's a legal requirement for vehicles, new passenger vehicles, to be connected. That's about 30 million vehicles a year. And there are similar initiatives in Asia and in the US. We also see emerging technology areas that require good connectivity. Autonomous vehicles, lots of people have heard about those, and we're hearing more and more about teleoperations, the ability to remote control a vehicle. Clearly these need very high performance connectivity. This is where 5G becomes interesting, and increasing the breadth of the networks. Japan is known to have several well-known vehicle manufacturers. We're working with one as one of our lead customers, but it's also at the forefront of many technological trends, and so we hope to roll out our platform, which is global, also in Japan.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's our first 3 videos. So if I just reintroduce David then from KDDI, who of course was our keynote speaker, and Rena, who is from Global Brain. We've already heard about KDDI. Rena, could you tell us about Global Brain, please?
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure. I hope you can hear me fine. I'm an investment director at Global Brain. We're a global VC firm located and headquartered in Tokyo, with an asset under management of $1.6 billion, investing across sectors globally. We're one of the largest and oldest VC firms from Japan. I've certainly focused on European early stage startups. I'm sitting in Germany. And here we really focus on deep tech, AI, B2B SaaS, digital health, and sustainability. So yeah, we're very excited to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm sure you will get lots of questions as well from on the chat. Perhaps if I can just ask you just a little bit of a couple of points here. That there's lots of publications around and have been around at the moment, really trying to foresee where 5G is going to go, and what the investment trends may be. And certainly there was a report recently that showed that both 5G and cloud computing were identified as the top categories for investment, these being closely followed by things such as smart mobility, media, entertainment, gaming, and of course augmented reality. We really just want to get a view from both of you, perhaps with Rini first, of whether this is a good position, whether you see this as being factual, or whether you see other trends happening within the marketplace, and where you think 5G might fit into those.
Shall I start?
Yes, please. Sorry.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes, it definitely resonates, I have to say. So at Global Brain, for example, we are sector agnostic. So we look at all these areas. We don't label any investments as a pure 5G investment per se. I think we're not the only ones in the VC landscape, but one can say that we look at companies tied to underlying use cases of 5G. So it's a technology which is used to serve a purpose. So the ultimate focus lies on the business and the market opportunity. So I see 5G as an enabler or also an enhancer to achieve just that. So for us, investment opportunities are definitely in the cloud computing and industrial sector is very attractive. Things such as DevOps, security, networking technologies, supply chain, factory productivity optimization as well. In the context of smart cities and mobility, obviously 5G tech brings content and safety to vehicles. It's the 5G speed and reliability are game-changing in the automotive, for example, especially. We also see huge growth in IoT and smart devices, as well as greater AR and VR, which we also saw, especially also with the rise of the metaverse. It will also play a very crucial role. I've seen, for example, a VR company focused on e-commerce in the past, suddenly thriving with 5G capabilities, really elevating the business in multiple facets in the context of the metaverse, NFTs, and so forth. So, yeah.
Thank you. So you see 5G as very much an enabling technology for some of these other services. Just one other question for you, while I've got you here, Rini. And the telecoms clearly is big business. Networks and infrastructure are necessarily expensive. So it makes sense for corporates to take a role in an investment model or investment piece of this. Global Brain manages corporate venture capital fund for KDDI and Open Innovation. I saw that Nokia had invested in various funds recently. Are there any noticeable trends you see for next rounds and for investment styles and strategies?
Yes, so definitely corporates are really upping their games and really investing and creating the infrastructure and laying down the foundation, which is really, really great for the venture scene. The trends there I see with style strategies and rounds, I feel like in venture capital, we see faster decision making and more competitive rounds. It's more like the style. That's more like an overall case, but also that the strategies are changing to not only just giving capital, but it's more important what kind of value add there is. So whether if it's a strategic alliance, whether if it's sharing resources, having like strong networks and sharing those, go to market internationalization and localization. That's also like the latter is also definitely our strength at Global Brain and with our corporate venture capital funds, what we can offer. Also, as in terms of round sizes, what we see and as trends are the VC investments are really going earlier and earlier, meaning like seed or even pre-seed. Traditional AB investors even like more launching early stage focused funds. And why is that? I think it's like enabling really challengers and capture or redefine the future is becoming way more important. With 5G technologies also like finally like really having tangible use cases. I think this is like an obvious trend. And challengers also who might even go against conventional telecom players, right? Like there's like blockchain-based decentralized players also challenging incumbents. And a sentiment of Europe itself as a VC landscape, I feel it's evident that there's a lot more focus on Europe and European founders and corporates also really raising their voices and making innovation efforts, making it visible, welcoming new tech. Big US names and us from Japan are coming over, setting up offices in London and Berlin, and we see much more excitement around that area. So I think like there's an optimistic sentiment. And I think like the startups today that we've seen are a great example and proof for that.
Thank you very much. One last thing then, do you then envisage that, because there are some great startups, and we will be seeing a couple more shortly, do you think that investment is probably driving innovation in some of these startups?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. I think we're all like investments are also just a medium of enabling what is to come. So on the corporate side, corporates are way becoming more savvy and more open in order to really make sense of the collaboration between corporates and companies to try to grow and having them like work together. I feel like the partnerships, there's always a gap between what corporates want and versus the strong belief and movement that the startups are realizing. So really, I feel like shortening that gap and really trying to understand and each other's goals is absolutely evident. And for startups to really simply put to work better in the landscape is really putting the characteristics and benefits of 5G tangible, make them understand use cases, really come up with like new use cases, have multiple ideas and angles to massage the way of thinking and more conventional thinking of innovation. And how do you scale is also a good point of not only doing pilots, but really to impact on the end, like that the CFO can talk about in the next earning calls, like what kind of impact they really have done on that level. I think that's a big challenge for organizations and for companies.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you will now get inundated. Thank you. Just David, one for you. Infrastructure and IoT could include industrial security devices for use such as 5G. You could envisage 5G controlled drones and other security type applications. Do you envisage these type of services as part of the KDDI offering?
Oh, yes, absolutely, Rick. In fact, we have clients we're talking to right now who want to move in that direction. We're looking at robotics, they're looking at drones, they're simple things, right? They have infrastructure that's analog, and how do you switch that analog infrastructure to digital so they can expand not just the replacement, but add and supplement things like the drones and like the robots, etc. How can you bring all that together and make it not just easy to implement, but also faster and ultimately cheaper, right? So if you're going to deploy something, you need to look at things in totality. So when you're talking to a client and you're talking to them about drones, you cannot just rely on drones alone solving the business case to deploy a network such as 5G. You got to look at something beyond that. So you got to look at the total use case across the whole campus that you're looking at to say, right, what are the opportunities that we have here to take them on that journey? But yeah, drones are absolutely, in my previous role, we used to use drones there as well, but we didn't have 5G. And it caused a few problems.
My interpretation of that is very much it's a solutions approach.
It's a solutions approach, absolutely.
Just infrastructure, you see it very much as a solutions approach. And of course, partner solutions has become a big part of a business model in many of existing 3-4G infrastructures. And the cellular has been moving that way for quite some while now. Do you envisage that KDDI will move into that solutions approach?
We are there now. Yeah, we are there now. Now, certainly, if you look at the slides I even put up, and I put that end-to-end solutions, I identified where partners are needed and where we work with them. We can't deliver solutions without partners. Yeah, to try and build everything yourself will take us forever and a day, and we just won't get the ROI. We won't hit the customer's problems, which are immediate. They're not in 2 years' time. No longer can you invest in huge infrastructure projects where you build it all yourself, because you just won't solve your immediate problems by doing that. And you have to look at the partner ecosystem and say, right, what can I do now rather than wait for that? But yeah, absolutely. I welcome working with partners, and indeed everyone here, KDDI has got that same approach.
Thank you very much. Thank you, David, and thank you, Rena. We've now got another 2 videos. I believe both of them quite exciting, so it'll be interesting to see. We've got AccelerComm from Professor Rob Maunda and Novocomms from Dr. Samson Hu. So if we could bring the next videos on stage, please.
I'm Rob Maunda. I'm the founder and CTO of AccelerComm. We're a company that's working on signal processing for wireless communications. Wireless communication systems are comprised of layers of technology stacked on top of each other, and we work on the physical layer, which is where bits are turned into RF signals and RF signals are turned back into bits. It's one of the most complicated layers in the 5G system. And as an IP company, we write code that implements this technology and we license that code to our customers. They then put that onto their equipment and turn it into products. 4G was mainly about connecting smartphones to base stations on the top of buildings to get internet and video services. 5G so far has continued this, but from this point onwards we'll see a much greater diversity of different devices connecting to 5G, such as robots or Internet of Things devices. We'll see a much greater variety of applications, so for example connected cars and safety, ultra reliable low latency communications as well. We'll see a much greater variety of base station deployments, satellites for example, small cells, and we'll see mobile edge computing applications as well, using a much greater diversity of different types of compute platform to power these base stations, FPGAs and DSPs and GPUs and all sorts here. And so the challenge that the industry is facing is a great diversity of different types of applications and requirements, which cannot be addressed by any single company and by any single product. So what's needed is for the entire industry to come together around an ecosystem to develop these products. But the challenge is that the IP that underpins it all, the physical layer IP, is so difficult to develop for these companies that don't have this IP. And what's needed is AccelerComm in order to make this available to the whole industry and enable this great diversity of different solutions to be built. AccelerComm has a democratized licensing model which makes the IP available across the industry to enable the solutions for the wide diversity of different problems to be solved in 5G and 6G and beyond. Our solutions are available across a variety of different platforms such as FPGA, ASIC, x86 or ARM processor. It's available at component level, individual components of the signal processing chain, through to complete solutions for the entire physical layer. And we have a mixture of novel techniques in here which add unique performance advantages that can only be found in AccelerComm's IP. We mix this with robust state-of-the-art techniques as well, so that we get the best trade-off between performance and complexity and robustness. And some of the techniques we've developed enable a power efficiency saving of double and a spectral efficiency improvement of double as well. And this is really key for operators, where the biggest costs are the number of base stations they have to deploy, the amount of spectrum they have to license, and the electricity bills to pay for all this. This efficiency is really key. Also, AccelerComm has 91% year-on-year revenue growth. We're backed by 2 multi-million-dollar government grants for developing the IP, and we have numerous licenses into numerous customers for products you can find in the market. The foundation of the company is an academic team which is spun out of the University of Southampton, which is among the top universities in Europe for telecommunications. This is brought together with an executive team which is led by Tom Cronk, the CEO. He and 4 other members of the executive team previously ran the processor division at ARM through the rapid growth years. So there's a track record of scaling and deploying the IP business model. And then the engineering team has been developed through the years by drawing expertise from the likes of Ericsson and Qualcomm and ARM and Imagination Technologies as well.
Hello everyone, I'm Samson Hu. I'm the founder and CEO of MVC. MVC was set up in March 2019. We currently have a R&D headquarters in the UK, a local technical support center in China, and we build a comprehensive supply chain in both UK and Asia. We design, sell, and deliver complex antennas for consumer and commercial electronics. Our antenna product can meet all the wireless standards including Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G, 5G, Bluetooth, GPS, millimeter wave, satellite communication, and NFC. Our application covers laptops, tablets, smartphones, connected cars, Internet of Things, and mobile satellite terminals. Today, we have already shipped more than 3 million antenna units to those Tier 1, Tier 2 OEM ODMs. We have the unique technologies to meet the requirements of the current and future product with the following USPs. We can offer up to 60% on the size reduction, up to 90% on the power consumption saving, up to 50% on the cost saving. In the last 3 years, we have built a comprehensive electronic component libraries. We can offer rapid custom designs. Our technologies were invented in the UK, which were resulting from 8 million plus R&D investment. and now we already generate more than 80 patent applications. We already achieved more than double-digit year-on-year revenue growth and has built a sales pipeline potentially can help us to deliver 80 million sales revenue within the next 3 years. MVC, we have 3 different core technologies. For sub-6 gig, we have mature technologies and products. We can provide comprehensive antenna solutions for all the electronic consumer devices. Today, we already have 15 products into mass production. We target 12 customers. We can deliver 80 million revenue. For the millimeter wave, we are focusing on 5G and 6G for consumer products. We have 5 target customers. We can deliver 50 million revenue. Our key advantage is to reduce BOM cost up to $30 per platform and reduce up to 50% on the power consumption. And this demonstrator is now being fabricated. We also sub strategic partnership with 3 Tier 1 laptop tablet brands. For the mobile satellite terminals, we are focusing on infrastructure product. We have 3 target customers can help us to deliver 30 million revenue. Our key advantage is cost saving, weight reduction. We can save up to 90% on the power consumption. And this demonstrator is now being manufactured. We also have strategic partner like Satellite Application Catapult. MVC is chaired by Professor Colin Tucker. He is the founder, CTO and Group COO of Orange. He also the founder and CEO of Free. Myself, I'm acting also a CTO of the company. I'm also the Senior Honorary Research Fellow of University of Birmingham, with more than 16 years experience in mobile antenna design. We have 3 technical consultants, Professor Peter Garner, Professor Peter Hall, and Professor Ed Candy. Plus, we also have a number of executive and experienced R&D engineers. MEC is looking for 5 million investment for the next 12 months. It will help us to convert the existing sales pipeline opportunities and accelerate the technology development for both millimeter wave and satellite communication. We are also looking for strategic partners for global business expansion. If you are interested or have any question, please contact us. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Another 2 exciting videos. I'd like to say it's been a really fascinating morning so far. That there is some absolutely superb technologies and companies out there. We've heard from ambitious entrepreneurs who are scaling their businesses, addressing infrastructure opportunities such as AccelerComm and Novocomms. We've got applications like Mafic, SwipeVideo, and beam connectivity. This is the final session, and I want to really zero down on the innovation trends and bring in some others who will now introduce. So if we could first of all bring on stage Adam Price, who is the Vice President of Spirent.
Hi there. Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm having a few network problems, unfortunately, so I had to swap to my mobile this morning, so apologies for that.
We can hear you, Adam.
Yeah.
Dr. Yingli Wang, who is at Cardiff, President of Cardiff, from Cardiff Business School.
Yeah, everybody.
Hello, good morning, Yingli, and last of all, our very own Stephen Myers from SETsquared.
Good morning, everybody. Really good to see you all.
Good, well, thank you very much. I'm sure, again, just to remind everybody, there is the chat messaging facility, and please do ask questions afterwards and as we go along. Perhaps to start with, Adam, you could tell us about Spirent and the opportunities that you feel that UK scale-ups are opening up.
Yeah.
Next generation and 5G in space, and the role that you see Spirit playing in this.
Yeah, I guess Spirent is a company that came out of Nortel Networks from a good few years ago, and is anything to do with position and location. But before I quickly talk about that, I mean, I think that there's a, if we think about some of the innovation trends, and certainly areas of the UK that I've been involved with, from where we're looking at the physical layer of what's coming about with innovation in 5G, there's a huge amount of technology trending in the way that we're seeing fusion of optical technology for kind of backbone networks, with that whole fusion with semiconductor, and how the two are coming together to allow data rates to increase across certainly the core part of the network. Then you can roll forward to how that's deployed to the edge, and a lot of technology involved in RF techniques from when we're looking at 5G through the air, cellular, and now thinking how do we deploy 5G beyond the urban centre, and we're looking to space for that deployment. You know, there's press over the last 12 months about how some of the big telecommunication companies, mobile network operators, are looking at the low Earth orbit satellites industry to be able to get bandwidth into space. And really then all the applications come from there. And certainly Spirent is involved in all of the space sector of that. So how do you model and simulate for your development low Earth orbit satellites and the higher satellites, and how bandwidth is then deployed through that, and then into anything that requires on the ground positioning or location technology and timing. So I mean, just from what I've talked about already, right from physical layer development and trends through to those applications, there's a huge kind of booming opportunity, I think, here for core innovation.
Adam, thank you very much. If I can just turn to Yingli, you have a fascinating use case at Bristol Port. Would you tell us more about services and the innovation aspects you're developing with the companies in partnership with Cardiff, Bristol, and the local authorities and the port itself?
Sure, of course. Hi, everybody. Now we're involved in this 5G logistics project. This project is led by the West of England Combined Authority. Now we have 12 consortia members, so including us at Cardiff Business School, another academic institution at University of Bristol, Smart Lab. And we also have Bristol Port, of course, as you know, the major use case participating company. We have Gravity, which is a new enterprise zone that would facilitate the advanced manufacturing activities in Somerset. And in addition to that, we of course have technology service providers, including automated drone service provider Unmanned Life, and 4 other 5G network service providers. For instance, we have Cellnex and Airspan. So the project itself is deploying a 5G private standalone network, trying to explore how 5G can be used to enable the smooth movement of cargo. We have 3 use cases. So the first one is geofenced real-time asset tracking and condition monitoring. For instance, we would have the IoT sensors fitted onto containers and pallets, and we can also monitor inside condition of a particular container. So that is one of the use cases, and particularly this use case is being tested in the context of free port, because within the concept of free port, one critical requirement is that the companies need to have a close monitoring of the cargo that's moved between ports and the free port zones, because there are tax implications and also legal requirements as well. So the second use case is automated drone surveillance and emergency response. Now, Bristol Port has several sites. They do have their own police force on site. The challenge that they face is they can't be at multiple sites at once. So when if we deploy automated drone, and then they could help to make sure that the real-time image of the events can be then streamlined back to control room, and also it can be used for emergency response as well, to make sure that the port's safety and security. The third use case that we are testing is at a nearby conjunction that where the 5G is explored to see how it could support this smart junction concept. So we the use case companies are currently trying out the use of AR powered signaling management techniques, try to ease congestion and therefore improve the traffic flow around the port area. So all those three use cases are currently being tested, and we aim to finish by end of June this year.
Yingli, what a fascinating group of projects there, and it's exciting to hear how things in 5G are moving along, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you in the future. Steve, you're in the pulse of public infrastructure, R&D funding, corporate supply, and investors, and where they focus on scale-ups. What do you see as the opportunities going forward? And of course, just as importantly, what do you see? What problems do you see that need to be overcome as these things evolve and we move forward?
Yeah, well, thank you, Rick. Well, firstly, it's a pleasure to be here this morning and see so many old friends and colleagues from my many years in telecoms. So I think the first place to start, and when I was part of the original Orange team back in the early 90s when we launched Orange Network, we got to remember back then it was just voice and text on the 2G network. And a year or so later, we launched a high-speed circuit switch data, which gave a massive 57.6K of data, which we thought was science fiction, really groundbreaking. And now we're on 5G, on the cusp of 6G, and all the opportunities that brings in terms of capacity, throughput, low latency, as a lot of our colleagues have said on the call already today. And I think the other opportunity is just the UK government drive to open up the national infrastructure now and the diversification of vendors in this space. And we've already seen this with the Open RAN initiative that's truly coming to fruition now. You will all may have heard that Vodafone launched Open RAN back in, I think it was late 2021. An interesting thing through that is that all of the vendors they chose, not one of them was from the traditional top 4 vendors that we would typically associate with network infrastructure. There were some big players, of course, like NEC and Dell, but there are also much smaller vendors such as Wind River. So it's just really interesting to see that's all coming together now. But I think the key underpinning message we're hearing from everybody today is that we can't, not one entity can do this alone. It's about developing kind of partnerships, as David Ryder and some of our colleagues have already said. And we've got a fantastic opportunity now for all the UK SMEs to work together, to collaborate, to accelerate their growth in the home market, and to really address some of the big challenges that we're seeing globally today. Now, I think particularly in some of the high-end vertical markets that some of the people have presented today, we've seen driverless cars, we've seen connected cars, health, consumer, and some very interesting initiatives that we heard from KDDI. And of course, yourself, Yingli, lovely project, and what a wonderful combination of different technologies bring together everything to fruition. And really, for that reason, we see now the opportunity to bring all this interest together, which is why that today we're very pleased to announce that SETsquared are launching our new kind of digital innovation network. And there's an opportunity for everybody within this room and everybody within the UK to collaborate together, form better supply chains, better networking, access to our investment community, access to our huge strength and academic community to really force the agenda, have their say with government, and try and make a real difference together. So we're very keen to hear your views. Myself, Rick and Lydia Green will be in the breakout room later to talk about our new digital innovation network. We'd love you to participate, and together, let's make a real difference.
Thank you, Steve. Before I move on to the rest of the questions, just which become more general, one from Don McQueen, and his question for all of you really is: are private networks being established because they're not public, because the public ones are not available, or IoT solutions requiring or preferring private 5G funding? So really, there's a question there of which way you envisage that these things are becoming available. So it's are the private networks being established because the public ones are not available, or are the IoT solutions preferring private networks? So for either any of you, please.
I can make a comment, and certainly from a global perspective, I think it is quite regional dependent. I've seen some quite big mobile network operators, some of the big names that really have an agenda to pursue IoT and try and create virtuous circles of from having owning the devices that go to the field, owning the data obviously that is needed to go to and from those devices, and trying to create some quite big ecosystems from there. I don't think that is potentially ubiquitous globally. And I think some of the big operators that have got the pockets are doing it, but I think there could be some challenges for some of the smaller operators. Just from what I've seen over the last 6 to 9 months, I would say.
Thank you. And Yingli, is this what you're experiencing with the ports?
Yeah. From what we have seen so far, we're not just looking at Bristol port. We have looked at over 10 ports, major ports globally as well. And we look at a number of other kind of manufacturing supply chain use cases. So the majority of the use cases that we have looked at are private network. That doesn't mean that there are lack of public funding. That could be one of the reasons, but the major reasons why those organizations are taking on the private networks are basically because they have better control over what the network can be done to that specific use case. So they really build around the private network to support different kind of use cases they want to put into place. And also there is a high level of security, of course, if you have your own network and you can decide who can plug in and who cannot be plugged in. So those are the major reasons, I think, why a lot of industrial use cases are private network. But of course, there are challenges, that we have experienced in our 5G logistics case, that if you build a private standalone network, there are challenges, for instance, in terms of some of the devices are not configured to be compatible with the 5G private network. And there are, of course, there are spectrum issues as well, we do have to apply beforehand. But nonetheless, from what we see, the majority use case are private network.
So I'd agree, Yingli, and I think if we can overcome the spectrum issues and probably the kind of the regulation issues, I think there's a huge opportunity to get more private networks out there and can level the playing field, reduce the barriers to entry, and give much more opportunities to have a better kind of ultimately better service to the end consumer. I think that's it's very positive in my mind.
It's an interesting one because like you, I started in communications quite a while ago. Interestingly, in the early days of cellular, a lot of people didn't go on to cellular networks. They preferred private networks for security and for exactly the reasons that Yingli has just described. And what actually happened over time is that people, whether you're looking at buses, even some parts of the military, they all moved over to the cellular sector when encryption and other devices, security devices, became available. And I guess maybe ultimately that's the trend that we see on 5G. So maybe private networks now, but maybe more use of public networks and virtual use of public networks as we go forward. I mean, is that what you feel?
No, for sure, Rick. No, for sure. I agree with all your sentiments, and I guess through Spirent, you're seeing there's opportunities as well, Adam.
Yeah, I think I think what Yingli said was spot on. That I think very application dependent as well. You know, we see struggles still day to day with how I mentioned about the urban centre. You know, and you think, well, how do I deliver 5G to the geographic area that I need it for my particular application or use case? And I think, yeah, certainly private networks are having a strong position there. So I do see it quite split, but certainly in the urban centres, you know, from Spirent's perspective, you know, there is some very strong presence that are coming through traditional means in 5G rollout. It's just application and geographic dependent, I think, from our perspective.
Thank you very much. Just a couple more questions. Well, one really for Yingli and Adam. How do you think collaboration can be improved between the scale-ups and between other 5G testbeds? So there's really two parts to that question, both really about collaboration.
I'll give a quick answer. I think, you know, I mentioned about the transport of 5G. You know, we think about all the applications that come from it, but that transport layer, probably more than ever, is a fusion of different technologies. You know, I mentioned optical, land, air, space. I think a test bed from one, you know, whether it's coming from a large institute, a large company, I think it's very hard for one entity to deliver kind of like a wide scale or wide application test bed or system. I think where the scale ups really could add value is some of these, whether it's coming from more of a niche or whether it's coming from a new area, there's going to need to be lots of plug-ins to any kind of test bed, because there is not one kind of transport layer that fits all. There are many application spaces. So I could see the bigger guys that may be producing the core of it, but I think there's plenty of opportunities for scale-ups to come in and be add-ons to test beds.
Well, the whole test beds argument is very, very interesting. Within our kind of new kind of digital innovation network, it's a kind of online platform, and one of the discussion groups we'll be launching imminently is the whole kind of gambit of 5G and 6G test beds, and what is the appetite of the vendors and the SMEs to aggregate all the very kind of disparate 5G, 6G test beds we have within the UK at the minute and have a consistent look and feel, consistent technology, consistent kind of delivery model. So it's one of the things that we'd love you all to invite to have your say and participate in over the coming weeks.
Well, I think we've seen some really exciting discussions, lots of exciting technology. Steve, how do people get involved?
Yes, indeed. So, well, firstly, I'd love to see you in the breakout room with yourself, Rick and Lydia, at the end of the next session, where we can give a quick demonstration of what the innovation platform looks like, and specifically the digital network that we're launching, and the various discussion groups that we're beginning to create over the coming weeks, of which the lead one is the future of telecoms and the kind of future of 5G testbed capability.
Thank you very much. Okay, if we can now bring on stage Simon Bond and Mahid, the Deputy Director General of Retro London. You got Simon?
Yes, lovely. Thank you very much, Rick. That was can't believe the morning has flown by. Thank you so much for sharing those sessions. the two panel sessions, and of course hearing from the companies was absolutely fantastic. So thanks, Rick, and I'll catch you in those breakout rooms later. I want to move the conversation on now, please, to the power of collaboration. And I'm delighted to welcome Masahid Sakishigi, who is the Deputy Director of JETRO in London. Masahid, we've had a wonderful morning, as we expected. I still think, although we've worked together for a little while, that JETRO is new to most UK startups participating in today's webinar. I wondered, could you brief us on what JETRO is doing, first of all?
Certainly. Thank you very much for your introduction. Certainly. Good morning, everybody. And okay, I will introduce JETRO briefly. And JETRO is Japan's government-related organization for promoting trade and investment between Japan and the rest of the world. And JETRO London is one of overseas offices, and our investment team provides various services to UK startups and SMEs to support their objective of entering the Japanese market. We firstly provide various information necessary for setting up the offices in Japan, including Japanese market and industries, national and local government incentives, and legal matters. We also connect our clients with the legal experts. Secondly, through JETRO's established network in Japan, we introduce UK startups to Japanese companies and VCs. And UK startups can be invited to participate in various events too. So today, this event with SETsquared is one of the best examples. And then we also have temporary offices in 6 cities across Japan, including Tokyo and Osaka. JETRO's client company can use these offices when they visit Japan. And please feel free to contact JETRO London for any queries about these our services.
And thank you for that advertisement, Masahid. But I must say, having worked with you and your colleagues, behind these words are serious people with serious action. The support that you and your colleagues at JETRO have been providing to other companies in the SETsquared network over the months we've been working together has really been, the word is awesome, and tremendous opportunities with Japanese corporates for our British startups. Now, the spirit of this is open innovation. I wanted to ask you about open innovation. I understand that one of JETRO's roles is to promote open innovation between UK startups and Japanese corporates. Tell me a little more about that.
Exactly. And actually, more and more Japanese companies are seeking open innovation, and JETRO try to provide opportunities where UK startups and Japanese startups can meet. And for example, JETRO London has published directly of more than 50 Japanese companies which are interested in working with European startups. And sectors include AI and data. Yeah. And this report was just released in December last year. So if anyone is interested in this directly, please contact JETRO first. Then we will provide all the instruction on how to obtain it. But open innovation is vitally important for the future of the UK and Japan both. So JETRO will continue these efforts and try to maximize the power of collaboration with SETsquared to encourage the innovative collaboration between 2 countries. Thank you.
Oh, good. And thank you, Masahid. I'm so pleased that we've built this partnership together between SETsquared and JETRO. It's really been a great success, and one that I'm looking forward to building on and running future events together with. So thank you very much, Mafik, to you and all of your colleagues.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to everybody here on this webinar this morning. You've heard a lot from us, the curriculum chairing panels from investors, corporates, innovators, the fantastic presentation videos from Mafic, Beam Connectivity, AccelerComm and Novocomms, and also SwipeVideo. I've just got to mention this, the power of collaboration with Jetra. SwipeVideo is in fact a Japan-based startup. Chief exec Kai is a great guy, really interesting video. But Kai was a graduate from one of the SETsquared partner universities. He graduated from the University of Bristol back in the day. So it was great to have you guys part of our ecosystem. I just want to thank everybody for making this happen this morning, and I'll see you at the next SETsquared event before too long.